To discuss this issue with us further is Anis Kotia, a researcher on civil liberties. Anis, thank you very much for joining us today. Now, first, of course, can you tell us more about this CTS bill?
Yes, the bill seems to have been in motion since November last year, and it's been through a number of readings in the House of Parliament. And the initial measures that would be looked to be put in place were around passport restrictions and prevention of traffic from within the UK outside and back in again. There are a number of issues with the results of this bill. Looking through the details of what this does, temporary exclusion order, a voluntary program for people at risk of radicalization, reimbursement of payments to terrorist organizations. There are a number of vagaries around the whole area, around the whole bill. What I do know from the research that I've done in the past, in my dissertation within my master's, which I'm now furthering in a PhD, is that if you put measures like this in place, you are at risk of causing what is known as a cognitive opening within radicalized youth. So what happens when in the life of let's say a wannabe or a would-be terrorist, is that they go through some kind of paradigm shift where they believe that the nation that they are living within is their enemy. Once that happens, then this person can go looking for mentors within the terrorist organization. So what this bill potentially might do is make more youth or more semi-radicalized youth feel that Britain really is becoming the enemy.
Well, hold on a minute there, Anis. Just hold on a minute. I mean, the bill itself, as we know, as they've been telling us, that the main reason they have set out to put this bill into law was to root out extremism. You're saying this will have an adverse effect?
It could possibly have a detrimental effect. In fact, what it will also do is it will make it difficult for your average Muslim who wants to visit holy shrines in Iraq and Syria from the wider Muslim community. It will make it harder for them to visit these countries, and then you have people who are potential moderates becoming slightly more. They could go either way. They could become more radicalized. They could themselves feel as if Britain is becoming the enemy.
Okay, well, hold on, Anis. Anis there. I mean, why would a pilgrim who will go off to Iraq, for instance, or Iran, why would they be labelled under these, extremist labels as we hear?
Well,
they got to do anything with extremism?
If you think about the process to decide whether to remove somebody's passport and prevent them from leaving the country, it's all about surveillance. It's all about what somebody's been going on the internet to look at and speeches they've attended and mosques they've gone to. It's very easy to catch the wrong person in these sorts of nets. There are cases of people who have been in UK prisons. For example, Barbara Ahmad, who's been in prison for many, many years, who has, you could say he's a casualty of surveillance techniques. So it's easy to catch the wrong person. Best will in the world, it's easy to, get the wrong target. If somebody goes to visit these shrines on a regular basis, they're coming back and forth, and they fit a certain profile, again, you can easily target the wrong person.
Now, is there, Anis?
If I can just make one point really quickly.
Yes.
Suppose we have a sleeper cell in the UK, or somebody wants to go and join ISIS. They will now become wiser. You see, terrorism evolves over time. There is cyber terrorism. There is, of course, ground warfare. There are, many, many forms of terrorism around the world. Terrorists will now become more attuned to what's happening, and their route to Iraq and Syria isn't going to be what you normally expect now. They'll potentially go via land routes, by road, by other means, by ship if necessary, rather than direct flights from Heathrow to Baghdad or Heathrow to Damascus. So terrorism will evolve along with this. They'll become wiser. And that's another impact that will be seen because of the bill. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that there was I think a process of steps to follow before before resorting to these measures. And I think maybe they are being missed. The process of the steps in between the Charlie Hebdo incident and this bill. I think there were some steps that needed to be explored further before this was put into place.
Well, I mean, does the bill, have if you like, clear definition of radicalism and extremism? Does it state what radicalism is?
Not from what I've seen. However, the bill does purport to review the definitions of terrorism. So it will be interesting to see what comes out in that space. Another thing which I found a little bit worrying was the creation of a Privacy and Civil Liberties Board. I want to know what's going to be involved in this board and where this is going, because it just feels a bit clandestine. Without more information on this, it's difficult to comment, to be honest. But the definition of terrorism is very suspect, or it's different depending on who you ask. The FBI have their own definition. The UK government has its own definition. Oxford English Dictionary has its own definition. So I think what we need to do is work more with community projects that look to integrate Muslims into society, but which have socio-economic aims. So Prevent is interesting as a project. However, there was a project I used to run, which is where I was building custom motorbikes with youth, and I prevented youth from going and joining ISIS. So I know what has to be done, but I think what the government needs to do is support initiatives out there, which are looking to de-radicalize and to engage with youth and provide them something to look forward to in the UK. I think the debate on terrorism and what it actually means will go on for a long time, but I think if the focus is on profiling people as in, are you a terrorist, are you not a terrorist, are you a threat, are you not a threat, that can be very, very divisive, and it can be very volatile as a topic in the community.
Yes, okay. Anis Kotia there, a researcher on civil liberties. Thank you very much for joining us.